Hey good people, hola mi gente, MsMalcolmHughes here. Welcome back. So, I have read another Ashley Antoinette book. I know, here we are again. We're like just pulled right back into this world. But I've read another Ashley Antoinette book, and this one is titled Birds in the Sky. Let's get into it. As always, I'm going to start out by telling you what the book is about, what I loved about it, what I disliked about it, and whether or not I think that you should read it. So, Birds in the Sky is a love story. We start out by following our main characters, Demi and Charlie, and their initial interaction is that they meet in a club, a lounge. And Demi is there for business. Charlie is a songstress there, and Demi is immediately enthralled by her, loves her voice, and he has to know who she is. And so from there, we follow them on this long journey of peaks and valleys. If you know Ashley Antoinette, then you know it's never going to be smooth sailing. And so we follow them on this journey of trying to figure out, will they, won't they? Is this a love story, a match that can happen? Or is this just chaos dressed up as romance? And so that's what it's about. What I liked about it, I really, you know what? I liked the storyline eventually. At first I was like, okay, this seems new. You know, it's a different take, a different turn. I liked it. There are still different elements that are very much Ashley Antoinette. Of course, Demi's a gangster, of course. But I liked the layers to the story. I like how the pacing went and that it evolved more over time. I like that it was like peeling back the layers to a rose, right? You just got more and more as you went, and we learned who these characters are. It wasn't quick, it wasn't thrown at you. It was actually like slowly paced, it built up, and I enjoyed that. I know that there's a part 2 to this book that isn't like available for the masses, but I do like that the way this all tied up. I feel as if this could just be a one-off standalone book. I actually don't feel like I need a part 2, but I see that, like, you know, Ashley Antoinette likes to world build and create these characters where they have entire universes. So I see how she could, but it was so much going on in this book that I was like, I'm good on that. But I'll read it, but I'm like not in a rush if it's not available. Like, I'm not like, ooh, I need it now, because this was wrapped up in such a bow at the end that I don't feel as if I'm like left on a ledge. The writing was good. It was more literary, so we get a lot more into our characters' heads. It wasn't so action heavy, though there is a lot of action. But we really got to sit with our characters and understand why they were thinking the way that they were thinking and why things were happening the way that they were. And so I enjoyed that as well. And those are my pros. Let's get into my cons. So I try not to have the same complaints over and over again, because I do feel as if Ashley Antoinette did do something different here. Though we took a trip to the hospital, yeah, I know how I feel about that, but though we took a trip to the hospital, it was short-lived. We took a couple of trips, but they were both short-lived. We didn't spend a lot of time there. We weren't really having to go through, is this person gonna live or die, and that whole aspect for very long. I feel like sometimes in her works that can drag out, and I'm just like, ugh. But we didn't have that here, so I was grateful. However, I did feel as if it was repetitive in the characters' thinking. I feel like there was a lot of repetitive thoughts. There were a lot of repetitive thoughts. At one place, the character would be thinking X, then they would be thinking Y, then they would be thinking X again, and then they're back at Y, and then they're back at X, and I'm like, okay, we get it. We absolutely get it. But I wanted them to evolve. I did want more evolution and growth. I also find that the love story here was very juvenile, and I I struggle saying that, even though I think that it's true. I do think that when people are in love, or when they are lustful, or they have these connections to another, a lot of reason goes out of the window. I do believe that a lot of us return back to the stage of teenageness, right? And you feel those same feelings, you approach it from that same level of fierceness and intimacy deeply, especially if you give into it. Obviously, as you grow older, you learn to balance those things, but if you completely remove all restraint and let yourself just go into it, it will feel and look the same, very juvenile-esque. And a lot of that is here. It's also very toxic. Demi has OCD, and that's fine. I'm not. That was actually a nice change. I appreciated that, and having to navigate that. I don't feel like it was always consistent, but I do feel as if any aspects that were inconsistent, she rationalized that with him. And so I did appreciate that legwork there and making sure that was consistent throughout. But Demi and Charlie and his wife, everybody in this book needs therapy. Honestly and truly, it's not healthy. It's not healthy, and I understand. In the words of Beyonce, who wants that perfect love story anyway? For sure, right? You want the fullness of it. You want all of it. However, it was a lot. It was a lot. It was a lot, honestly. I thought about putting the book down a couple of times. It was a lot. So I didn't really love that about it. The immaturity of the characters, the toxicity. It just sometimes felt like too much. And not in the way that like I had issues with the product plan, but in the way that, can these characters evolve and grow? Can we just get people who approach things from a mature perspective instead of a lot of internal rationalization that is rooted in the fact that people have a lot of unhealed trauma? I want some characters who have already done that legwork. And maybe that's too much to ask. Maybe that's not as engaging as a story, but I would like to see that. I would like to see people post the legwork sometimes. That's just my own personal thing. But overall, I did enjoy the book. If the other book becomes available, I will read it. But like I said, I do feel as if this book was wrapped up enough that I don't feel pressed about it. So based on my scale of if you should read it now, read it when you have time, or read it if you want, I would say that this is a read it when you have time. I enjoyed it. I would continue reading it. I sometimes miss the writing of Ashley Antoinette, even though I have my frustrations. She does a great job of creating characters that get you invested in world building. And so I do enjoy coming into this world every now and then. So definitely check it out when you have time. That is it for me. The book that I'm currently reading is Heavy by Kiese Layman. If you've seen my review of Long Division, if you haven't, check it out. I appreciate the way in which Kiese Layman writes so much, and that's no exception here. So that's the book that I'm currently reading. My review of that should be coming in the relatively short near future. But until the next time, I am MsMalcolmHughes, one who believes that books are sometimes better than people. Please remember to give time, to be kind to each other, and to have the very best day of your life on purpose. Peace. Hola, adios. Ciao.